Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do another cutesy illustration following Halloween theme. So I'm pretty excited for that. So before we start this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel because all these things does help me and it tells YouTube algorithm that my video should be pushed out to more people. So let us dive into this and start this video. So as you guys, if you guys can see, it's not a voiceover. I'm doing something new. But anyway, as you guys can see, I have a little sketch layer underneath and I'm doing a little new sketch on my Photoshop to see how I am going to be adding all of these little shapes that I have drawn to the cat and make any little different changes that I wanted to add in the beginning, or maybe I just changed my mind and I decided to do that later. And with this little sketch that I had, I actually did do that. So this is basically a little process of how I normally work depending on the illustration, how big it is, how small it is. This is technically how I normally do it. I will make a small sketch, and with that sketch I will later on make a little bit, go defining it until I get to where I intentionally want this piece to go, and afterwards I will just fix whatever I have to before I start the line art. Sometimes I do fix stuff within the line art that I do myself, and I will eventually end up doing another line art just to make it cleaner, which is the correct way of doing it. Sometimes we just in a rush and we don't do that. But this is normally how I like to work things out. And here, as you guys can see, I am already doing the line art. I have already changed a couple of things. I've added a little bit more definition to the cat, especially with some more little squiggly shapes to him, because I really enjoy kitties, and also I just love this whole vibe to cats and with various colors. I just love those. I've actually heard a theory about that the cats with multiple colors are normally female, but I don't think that's possibly true. Maybe the majority, but I don't think that's true. But anyway, here I'm finishing up the line art and I have defined what I want. I did change up a little bit the candles. I had just a few of the melting candle, like the little layers of melt in the candle, and I added a little bit more to give it a bit more life to it. Here I am doing a little color test. I normally go in my illustrations always doing a color test, even if I am doing it traditionally. So even if you do it traditionally, you should do a color test, even if it's not like full on your piece of paper. If you do have a digital, you can actually try and color test digitally and then just use what you have there to make a better rendering for your illustration. And this is technically what I did. I went in and I chose my colors. I had a couple of them in mind. I did want the cat to have at least two colors, and I decided with a little orange and a little darker, like it's basically like a cinnamon brown that I decided to add, and I did want the witch hat to be a little bit better, so I did do that. Even with that, I still added a little bit of a color correction because I wanted the cat to be a little bit more vibrant, and I thought that the colors were a little bit too muted, so I did add a little bit of saturation to pop the colors out a little bit more, and I really enjoyed that. So here I'm starting off with the flat layer. The flat layer is very important for me, like this flat color that I always add. Normally I would use like what was it? It's like, I forgot the name of the color now. I'll just pop it up when I remember, or I'll just say it if I end up remembering the name of the color. And I will use that color to literally just be like a little base layer. But for this illustration, since I knew I was kind of gonna make the entire layer green, I actually just went in and decided to work a little bit smarter. I did the background layer first with the flat colors, and I added all the colors and everything that I wanted into the background in these little clipping masks, and then afterwards, what you guys will see later on, that I actually went in and I decided to use the same layer, and I just put in the color to the cat and used the clipping mask to just have all of them there. So here I'm just adding all the colors, as I said, just to make sure that everything was layered out perfectly. So when I start coloring in, I already have everything there. I also did add a special layer for my sparkles because I normally do end up coloring the sparkles a little bit differently, or I'll add like more texture to them. I don't think I actually did this to this illustration. I actually really enjoyed this illustration with the way I had already rendered, especially the cat. So I just left it as that. And now that you guys can see, I'm finally going into the layer that I told you, with just adding everything to the green, just making that flat color layer just all green, and now going in and adding all the extra colors that I hadn't added yet, which is the hat, and making sure that I just copy. If you don't know how to select the color in Photoshop, you can just click I and it will bring up the eye drop, if I'm not mistaken, and then you can just select the color there and you can use it for your illustration. So that's technically what I do. I just keep selecting the colors that I have in my little thumbnail test. I do want to show you guys more about that in future illustrations, and I just went on and picking the colors and making sure they were all properly placed. And you don't have to worry, I did not, for the life of me, I did not add 30 minutes of me cleaning this. I did not add me cleaning this cat for like 30 minutes because I went in and I made sure that the line art was properly colored and everything was in its proper place before I added the one thing that saves me from literally going over the lines, which is lock transparent layers. Lock transparent layers is one of the most important things for any illustration. At least for me, that is one of the most important things for any illustration that I do, because I have my flat colors, everything is there, but even though if I wasn't using a flat color, I would still have to be able to put my colors in individually in each little layer, and so I don't have the trouble to go over the line. I use lock transparent layers. So I have my colors perfectly there. I will zoom in so you guys see where the lock transparent layer is, and all the color that I placed there, that is literally the only place that I could color in that will be shown in this entire illustration. So it is a lifesaver, please use it. Here I am already starting to render this illustration. I literally started rendering the moon. I am actually very, very happy with the rendering, not only of the moon, but the night sky, because I do add a little darker blue. I almost said brown for some reason, but I do add a little darker blue. I also go in with a lighter blue. I didn't use white, I just used the color wheel, which I do use with the triangle, which I have found gives me a more accurate color scheme than just using the plain triangle that normally it's a square that normally comes in. I just changed it and I added the little triangle. I said it and I turned it, but yes, I added the triangle, and I have realized that like my colors, if I wanted a lighter color in the same shade range, it doesn't lose like the value of the hue that I want it to be. So if I want it to be really dark, it will still keep on the same range as the same color that I was using, but it will just be darker and it will still look sharper. But if I started with a darker color, I can just go really light and it will still keep the same range, and I really enjoy that. Especially if I change colors, it will still keep on the same value of that color, and I really enjoy that. Here I'm already coloring in the cat, well, the cat hat. I did take my time coloring this in. As I said, I also colored in a lot of the background for the candles and the shadows, because I do afterwards, at the end of the video, I do add another layer, which is mostly a shadow layer, and then I do add a light layer to it to indicate that it is in a darker atmosphere, but it's not so dark. And I really wanted to bring that out, and here I am coloring in the candles, and I really enjoyed coloring in this candle. It was very fun. I was using, it's ADHD couple. They have these little Pomodoro, I think it's Pomodoro, videos where it helps you, especially if you have ADHD, it helps you to focus on what you are doing and what you want to do. And I just put it on and I was literally vibing throughout this entire process, because it was just focus for like 50 minutes and 10 minutes, like a little break. And when I took my break for like, when I started the illustration, like literally rendering in, I did realize that like not only like the sky, as I said, that I was really happy with how I rendered like the night sky, but also the candles just looked so beautiful, and I was really happy with this illustration. I normally have a problem with liking how much I render the background, but I actually really enjoyed illustrating this background and all of the objects and how I would want the lighting. And I have seen that I have gotten better at doing backgrounds, and also like mostly when it comes to rendering it out, I still have a long way to go to where I intend on where I literally want to be. But for now, I'm just taking my time, I am going slowly, and I'm just enjoying this like one step at a time, and it's just really fun. Right now, I am doing all the little shadows on this little kitty. You know, I have been drawing cats for like a really long time. I'm gonna end up adopting a cat, and this cat's gonna have like a whole bunch of colors. And I'm just gonna be like, oh my god, I manifested this. I would love that. But yes, when it came to choosing the colors, I did go back and forth in the color wheel to pick out like the color that I wanted. I eventually ended up using a darker, more maroony brown, which was mostly to the reddish side, because I have realized that I do like my colors to push a little bit to the red tones, and I kind of eventually started using that a little bit more to have a little bit more fun, and I really enjoyed, and I really loved the way that the cat literally started popping out when I started doing that. And I didn't really stop myself from like putting shadows where there normally wouldn't be shadows on the cat, but I would go back with a little lighter color later on, especially because I do like adding the shadows before, and then just making sure that when I do my shadow pass, that everything that has to be light, I will just put it on an overlay layer, and then it will just make it pop even more. And that's technically what I'm doing right now. I'm doing the first light pass on my illustration, just making it a little bit more homey, a little bit better, especially because the cat's face is like right next to the candle, and then the other half of his body there's another candle floating around. So I wanted to give a little bit more of this feel that the cat was in that little surrounding area and that light was hitting him where it was normally supposed to be hitting. And I know that, like, even with candlelight there are a lot of places that the light will start hitting you, so that's technically what I did with this. Here I am doing the dark pass, which I just took that dark little reddish maroon color that I normally use, especially for line art, because I really like the way I use it with multiply. Just add the multiply layer. It is a lifesaver and it looks beautiful. And I just use that, and I just went erasing a couple of the things that I didn't want to be in the dark, especially the flames, a couple of the parts from the candles. I really took that out, and then afterwards I did add in another layer where I went in with a lighter yellow, but it was literally from the same orange that I used the cat. I just made it like really lighter, and I just went in, I put it on overlay, and I started adding in a little bit more definition to bring out where everything was brighter in this illustration, especially in the cat. As I said, his face, because it's really up close to the candle. I also added it on the surrounding parts of the flames of the candle just to give it a little bit of glow, because it's fire, so it should have a little bit of that glow and that burn. I did add a light. I did remove a couple of it, but I did add a little lighter pass to the background as well, because normally the light would reflect to that as well. And I just finished the illustration off by adding any more shadows or rendering any other place that I didn't render before, and added a little bit more light to places that I would normally add just for show or just for fun, even if it's not like correct, but it's something that I like to do, and that is technically how I did this illustration. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a really fun time making this illustration. It was pretty fun to do, especially with this playlist that I use. Well, it's not a playlist, it's actually just a video, but I will link it down either way down below if you guys would like to use it. You do not have to have ADHD to actually watch this video, but I have found that most of the things that people who do have ADHD use works on me, so I'm kind of starting to think that maybe, but I need to go to a specialist to make sure that I'm right. But either way, I really enjoyed this, and I hope you guys enjoyed this too. There will be more illustrations as well later on, and I do already have planned for my patrons. I will probably be putting a new little gift for you guys, which is the month's little coloring page, which I have for my patrons, and I will be adding a new one soon. I will probably make a video and tell you guys a little bit about it, but I hope you guys enjoy this either way. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys have a great day. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Have a great day, week, month, year, whenever you're watching this. Have a good one, guys. Love y'all. Bye.